Hey everyone, True here, and today we are taking a look at another new Storm SSR that is upcoming, the goddess of all laws. And she's kind of a stun version of a combination of Arya, Dark Gene, Tiamat, and Voraxion. So a lot of interesting mechanics combined and a few new ones introduced. Her speed is above average at 400. And to better understand this unit, let's look at her passive skills first before we look at her active skill animations. And her first passive are her eyes. The eyes of Odin. What it means is that a number of winged shades will be added to random places in ally reinforcements whenever she enters the battle. That can be at the start or from the reinforcements. However, Odin must not be conjured for this effect to trigger, so that means this effect can only trigger once per battle, and there must be at least 5 non-conjured units in the ally team, of course including reinforcements, because otherwise this would not be mathematically possible. Again, there is a scaling based on awakenings. One winged shade will be conjured basically in her basic version. Each awakening adds another one. And if there are at least 10 non-conjured units in the ally team, of course this is only relevant for arena, then this number actually doubles and there can be up to 10 winged shades if Odin is fully awakened, being directly added into the reinforcements. Again, this is randomly placed, so there can be some RNG and of course some effects on your team build. If it is Odin's first time on the battlefield, she can also not be removed from there except by being killed or self-sacrificing. In other words, an immovable passive for a non-conjured Odin. Now the winged shades will get stronger based on Odin's levels, etc. as well. However, as you will see, the stats of these winged shades are not really all that great, but their utility comes from other things. Odin's second passive is Supreme Will and combines a few things as we are used to at this point. She has a hold ground passive. She gets a sleep ward whenever she enters battle. If she is conjured, she will immediately get the turn, so that is a light speed entry on her conjured versions. And whenever an ally winged shade gets the turn or enters the battlefield, she will be healed for 50% of max HP, will wake up from sleeping, and she gains a sleep ward. Now these passive skills will also make a lot more sense once we take a look at her active skills now. And her first one is actually the only one that doesn't cost spirit. Time Blaster costs 100 time units and generates 1 spirit, dealing 100% damage to one enemy target. However, if the target has 50 or more time units, she already deals 300% damage and steals 1 spirit from the enemies. If the enemy has 100 or more time units, she actually deals 500% damage and steals 2 spirit from the target. So this skill is basically a vampiric time strike. As her second skill, we see another instant stun. After the one we saw from the original Lancelot, we now get Supreme Stun, which is even more powerful than that Lancelot skill. Costs the same, that is 3 spirit and 1 time unit, but it stuns one enemy for 500 time units. That is an absolutely insane amount, of course, but not only that, but she also gets fully healed and purified, so burn or poison are removed from her. However, this is only usable once per battle. However, a newly conjured version of Odin can use this skill yet again. I also do want to point out that kind of combination that is possible that we see here. If she uses the Supreme Stun, which costs 3 spirit and stuns one target for 500 time units, immediately afterwards she should be able to use the Time Blaster on that enemy And if the enemy team has 2 or more spirit, can gain the 3 spirit back that she used for the supreme stun immediately. Now these first 2 skills are basically the stun part of her skill set, and now we get to the sacrifice part of her skill set with the next skill that is called Gangnir, aka the rocking, which is known in Norse mythology as the spear of the god Odin. The skill costs 2 spirit and 70 time units, and it sacrifices an ally winged shade on the battlefield with the highest current time units for 600% damage to one enemy. Now that I'm looking at this, I also see a little bit of Earth Rainer in there, although they fixed her big problems in that kind of tribute bomb skill here a lot. In this skill, we also see a little bit of Arya's Blood Reaper, because not only does it sacrifice an ally winged shade on the battlefield, but it also adds 2 new ones in random places in ally reinforcements. Furthermore, Odin is fully healed and purified. Of course, to sacrifice an ally winged shade on the battlefield, there needs to be an ally winged shade on the battlefield, so this skill is only usable if that condition is met. And then her last skill, which is literally her last skill that she will use on the battlefield, and it is called Ragnarok. Costs 2 spirit, and it sacrifices herself. However, in return, you get 600% damage to all enemies, ignoring enemy damage reduction effects and the stealth status effect. Additionally, to really maximize her chances of revival afterwards, for each awakening, she will add another winged shade to a random place in ally reinforcements, so that is up to 4 new winged shades additionally added to the reinforcements, so that's a lot of birds. This skill is locked for 200 time units after she enters the battlefield. This is not really all that long. Basically, in an ideal scenario without time unit reductions, this might be 1 supreme stun and 2 time blasters, and then she should get to turn roughly right about when she unlocks that Ragnarok skill, which could be a very powerful combo, of course. Now, how does she get potentially that kind of revival cycle going? With the help of her winged shades, of course. And looking at the third skill of this winged shade, we see a supreme revival, which is reminiscent of Dark Michaela. It also costs 2 spirit and sacrifices the user to revive Odin to the battlefield with full HP. Of course, for this to happen, there cannot be any Odin on the battlefield or in the reinforcements. What other things can the winged shade do? It can get off a stun bolt for 1 spirit and 100 time units, stunning 1 enemy for 100 time units. However, this is only usable once per battle and if there is an ally Odin on the battlefield, so very conditional and not all that great of a skill. I like the first skill much more, which is called Go for the Eyes. Generates 1 spirit, costs only 50 time units and deals only 50% damage to 1 enemy. However, this attack does ignore guardians, which means low HP units behind guardians are in danger on the enemy team. Additionally, we see a new effect introduced, which is in the same category as the Enrage effect. However, this is the Weaken effect, and it reduces attacks by 25% until the end of the next turn for the enemy that is attacked with this skill and survives. So this will be the go-to skill for a winged shade, of course, because the other 2 are 1-time use only. However, the Supreme Revival not time locked, so whenever the winged shade gets the turn and has 2 spirit and Odin could get a revival, she will get it. And getting a turn for a winged shade isn't all that hard because their speed is really high at 700. But to be honest, it kind of needs to be, because looking at their HP and attack, they are of course much lower than the one from Odin. So even maxed out, they will only have 75,000 HP. And looking at the passives, they can die super easily. We have the ephemeral passive. I think I never heard this word before in my entire life. It means existing only briefly or being transitory. And here a very, very interesting effect comes into play. This unit is never considered to be defeated by attacks and does not trigger any passive skills of other units whenever it is defeated or sacrificed by any source while on the battlefield. And this is extremely important with all the deadly savage skills that have been recently introduced. Given the mass of birds that we might see with Odin on the battlefield in a battle, this is really, really necessary as to not extremely help the opposing team. However, this big benefit comes at a price. The winged shades will basically die immediately as soon as they come into contact with burn, super poison, or mega poison. Damage dealt to this unit is increased to 2.5 times the normal amount, and if you recall, their HP are not really high to begin with, so I feel like 99% of attacks will immediately defeat a wing shade, and it doesn't really help all that much that this unit is fully healed after each turn if it takes damage but is not defeated. It's really, really not important that they are fully healed because they can be so easily killed at 100% HP as well. The Winged Shades also have a second passive, and that is a really nice entry effect. It steals one spirit from the enemy team whenever it enters the battlefield from reinforcements. That could lead to a lot of spirit stealing. That is very helpful because a Supreme Revival, after all, does take 2 spirit. It would be very unfortunate if a Winged Shade has to resort to other attacks and probably die soon afterwards because there wasn't enough spirit for a Supreme Revival. Also, for a subsequent Supreme Stun after Odin's Revival, another 3 spirit is required. So the ideal combination would be for the team to have 5 spirit when a Winged Shade gets the turn to revive Odin. Now that's all the specifics about this new unit. This took much longer than usual, I feel like, with all these kinds of special things about Odin and the Winged Shades. It will be very interesting to see her on the battlefield with a flood of birds. She is a unit that might also provide some value at just 1 copy. However, of course, there is this kind of awakening scaling, which makes it really tempting to fully awaken. She's definitely one of the top 3 stun units, I would say, although she definitely doesn't work with burn, so keep that in mind if you run a team like that, especially if you run a burn platoon later on in arena. This might be troublesome given how easily the birds die to the burn status effect. I would understand if you are considering pulling for her, and I am considering it for myself. However, I would really recommend you to wait until next week if you are thinking about getting her on the first banner, because then we will have the lucky fountain. Not only will you be able to hopefully use the 30k fountain if you wait a bit longer, but also you will have the fountain rewards, of course, and additionally potentially already some insights into the new poison SSR Loki that we will see next week. Another benefit of waiting is that you will see my extended review and AI analysis and tier prediction on this new SSR character on my channel, as well as some top level arena footage as per usual, to see how this new Odin really changes the scope on the battlefield with her super powerful Ragnarok attack all skill, a much improved version of Voraxion's survival bomb. Thanks to LensJS and Saturn for the visuals used in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. And as always, thanks for watching.